Okay, the lab 3, we're going to do a hands-on aseptic drug filling and then sealing exercise. So when you say drug filling and sealing, what does that mean? So what it means is your formulated drug will be aseptically filled in a vial, probably a primary container. It could be a drug vial, or it could be a drug syringe, or it could be an ampule. Whatever the primary container you're going to use, your drug will be transferred into the primary container aseptically. Okay, and then once it's introduced, and that vial or the primary container should be sealed. If it's a vial we're talking about, it'll have a stopper, rubber stopper placed on top of it, and then after that, a stopper will be pushed in, and then the sealing, the crimp will be placed, made out of aluminum metal material, and then it'll be crimped for sealing. So that's that process. And if you look at this picture, so it shows you a manual drug filling. So these two operators are aseptically filling these vials that are placed in there. It's probably inside of the biosafety hood, and that's a drug. They are kind of sealing and the filling kind of manually. So it depends on the size of your batch that you are manufacturing. If you have maybe a small batch for early phase of clinical trials, maybe phase 1, you do not have to manufacture a lot. So in that case, maybe this manual filling process is required. Okay, so we're going to do something similar today. Okay, but if you manufacturing a large batch, of course you cannot do that manually. That's too much of a risk of contamination, and it's not effective at all. In that case, you will use an automatic filling machine, something like what Catalan does at their facility here in Bloomington. So if you click on that, it'll show you the process of automatic filling happening inside the filling machine. That's located in the clean room inside of the isolator. So let's see if we can play that. So actually, right here, it's the video it's talking about, and there's a narration there, but probably you're not hearing the narration here. So it's showing you the manufacturing space. This is the drug substance area. So this is the filling machine, one of theirs. You see you have the it's an isolator with the glove compartments in there. So yeah, full filling is happening inside of this machine, and the lyophilization, capping, everything is happening automatically there. So the operators will load up the vials, okay, there. So see the empty vials are going in, loaded up, it's automatically going in there. And then even this machine will wash the vials, okay, so cleaning will take place. So see, so washing is taking place, see that, okay. So after this washing, and these washed vials will go through a process called depyrogenation tunnel. So that tunnel will have a high heat, maybe 650-degree heat, about 1 minute. So the vials will be depyrogenated. So I talked about depyrogenation of your vials. After that, the vials are filled. This is a filling process with the 4 fillers coming down, with the drugs being dropped down in there. And then these are stoppers placed on top of your vials. Okay. After that, these stoppers automatically pushed in as well. These are rubber stoppers. So lyophilization may take place. That's a freeze drying. If that's the case, rubber stoppers cannot be pushed in all the way. Then it can be sealed. So instead, see, they are snugly sitting on top of the vials. So it will give the space where vapor can escape during the lyophilization process. Okay. So it will be loaded to the freeze dryer machine automatically. And these are the seals. Or crimps. So after putting the stoppers on, you see the aluminum seals are placed on top of it, right? And so it's a capping or sealing that'll be automatically done as well. So it'll be pressed in automatically, and then labels are placed after that. So that's the process, the automatic process at Catalan. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go back to PowerPoint slides. So yeah, that's the lab you're going to do today. So aseptic drug filling again. So solution, powder or suspension, whatever will be filled in a container, primary container, bottles, vials, or syringes, cartridges, or ampoules sometimes. So that's the filling process we're talking about. Okay, so a lot of cases it's done automatically because there are automatic machines that can do that process. Okay, although those are very expensive. Okay, but whichever the way you do, there are a lot of difficulties. Okay, those are engineering difficulties because you will be facing these issues. The issues are how do you make sure that the accurate dosage will be filled in a vial, right? Depends on the viscosity of the product. It may be hard to push that liquid into that vial. Okay, so the dosage accuracy is a problem. And then out of tolerance fill, maybe volume and weight. How do you check? All those vials have the same volume, same weight. Okay, the checking is a kind of challenge. And then filling needles can be bent if it hits the mouth part of the vial or someplace else. And if it's bent, then it's gonna plug in, so the drug's not gonna go through. And then absorption of active ingredient on the surface of the tubing. The filling machines have tubings in there. Could happen, and it's not good for your drug. And protein aggregation could happen if your protein is made out of, if your drug is made out of proteins, they can aggregate. And then leachables could come out of the filling tubes. And the fill pump leak, filling machine generates a force through the pump motion, and if there's a leak, that's a problem. And during the filling, what if there's a power outage? All those possible problems could be an issue, right? So you're facing a lot of difficulties. So like I said, aseptic filling method can vary from early clinical trial phase, like phase 1. You can do maybe hand fill, manual filling, or semi-automatic filling, or fully automatic filling like you just saw from Catalan website if you are dealing with a large commercial batch production. Okay, so after automatic filling is done, the decontamination should take place on the filling machine itself or the operators and everything. Okay, and if you're talking about the filling machine, how do you generate the filling force is a question, right? The cheapest and all-time method is gravity-based filling machine. It's the oldest and most economic method. So it depends on the weight of the drug, which is placed on high above the vials, and the drug will drop down based on gravity pull. Okay, so you need to check based on the time. So if you know how fast it's dropping down, just give the enough time to get the right dosage filled into a vial. Or you can do the check on the of the weight of filled vial. Make sure you gave the right dosage to each vial. If you're using a piston, okay, so for example, so the gravity field you can use for liquid and solid drug products. But if you're dealing with a liquid or gas drug product, you may be able to use piston. So piston is like automobile engines. Piston will be moving back and forth, and by using those back and forth motion, you can generate the force that can push the drug into the vial. And there's a rotary pump. So another name for rotary pump is the peristaltic pump. So you probably use that in the lab, so you can use the machine to fill the vial. So that's what you're going to use today. And then if you're filling maybe a solid drug or powder, normally you use kind of screw machine that can fill the powder into a vial. So it's a vibration based filling machine. Okay, so there are different ways of filling. That's what you need to understand. So when you deal with the filling process, of course, people are involved because they need to be there, load up the vials and things, but they could be the source of contamination, so you need to be careful. And automatic fill finish equipment is installed to reduce the amount of person engagement. So development of the current barrier technology like an isolator or wrap system, that's very important. Okay, so we minimize the exposure of the sterile drug to the personnel. That's the goal. And personnel who function in the aseptic fill finish processing will need to have completed aseptic gowning qualification, because that's the cleanest environment. So make sure they should be all aseptically gowned. And for solution drugs, after stoppering process, sealing will happen right away. So as you saw from that Catalan video, you said that stopper, the rubber stopper is placed, and after the rubber stopper pushed in, there's that crimp, aluminum crimp placed in. It's done right away. That's to make sure that there's no leakage happening in your primary container. And if there's a lyophilization, freeze drying happening after vial filling, so your stopper will be partially pushed in, meaning stoppers will be just loosely positioned on top of it, and then it's going to move into the freeze dryer. So you will give enough space for the vapor will escape. So that's what it means. And the stopper will be sealed after full freeze drying process. Okay. So yeah, so we're talking about that filling process, and then stoppering is that, placing a rubber stopper on top of it. This is the seal, aluminum seal, so it's filling, stoppering, and sealing. We're talking about that, okay, vial sealing. So if you're freeze drying your drug, so you need to place your stopper not all the way in like that. Instead, just place it snugly on top of it. So you need to have that channel open, so the frozen water, when it's vaporized, should be able to escape through the channel. So that's why you have to be placed snugly that way. And filling may take place inside of these syringes as well. So it depends on what you use as a primary container. And some European and Asian countries may use ampoules as the primary container. Then ampoule will be sealed right away using ampoule sealer, that using the flames to seal the glass seal. Okay. So anyway, the filling and sealing happens at the cleanest environment, grade A, ISO 5 area. Understand that. And then manual sealing. So like I said, early clinical trial phase, you may do a manual sealing. So operators may be involved. So that's not really desirable, because you always have a chance of getting your product contaminated. But if you have to just use very experienced, skillful operators for that process. And container closure integrity is very important. That's why you have the seal in there, so it's a tamper-proof. If there's any damage done, you can easily see what happened on your product. And let's see, the sealing, yeah, cleanest environment, and there's no human interface, interaction is normally allowed. So that's what I just talked about. So today you will use this setup. We call this Flexicon filling machine. It's a peristaltic pump, basically. If this is a drug product, okay, formulated drug, and you can place the rubber tubing through this peristaltic pump, and then you're going to do the filling. So you can program this peristaltic pump. So maybe based on volume or time, the filling can take place on this side. So it's kind of semi, I guess, automatic, because there will be an operator maybe here and switching out the vials and push it to the next person. And next person will be what? Placing stoppers, and another person will be maybe sealing. So it's kind of a 3-person operation. That's what you will do today. So we have PF6 filler, okay, the tabletop peristaltic filling machine. So that's what you're going to use today. This has a capacity of that, okay.